Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today I'm going to be getting into my 5-star predictions for 2024. We are looking forward to the new year and I always love making some predictions for the books that I'm going to rate 5 stars in the new year. Historically, I've been pretty accurate with my 5-star predictions, so I'm curious to see if these will work out. I also filmed another video doing a check-in from my predictions that I made in 2022 about my 5-star reads for 2023. I will link that video up above and down below if you missed it from last year. But I was actually really surprised with my stats and results from that video. I wanted to post a whole other video on my channel about doing the check-in and seeing how accurate my 5-star predictions were. But when I got COVID, it was just like way too much time passed before I started posting for my Christmas content. So I don't have room in my content schedule to post that anymore, but it will be up on Patreon for my top tier. So if you want to see that, you can see it over on Patreon. You don't have to sign up for months and months and months. You can literally just pay one time to see the video if you want to see it, just because it does not fit into the schedule. So if you're wondering where that is, it's over there. But in this video, we're going to be making new predictions for 2024. I tried to do all physical books. I do believe all 12 that I have to talk about are physical books because I really want to prioritize my physical TBR. I have books on books on books and I need to get these hoes read. So the first one that called out to me is literally so random. I've never heard anybody talk about this book, but every time I see it on my shelves, I'm like, I think I'm gonna like you. And that is How Strange It Is to Be Anything at All by Jo Riley. This just sounds right up my alley. I'll read you the description that lets me know this could be a 5-star read for me. Hell is where you find it, and Jo Riley, a 20-something writer, is your guide through it all. There's authority in his sparse, direct language, no matter how ambivalent the situation, and it is the ride, the journey, the gift of being here that it's its own reward. Jo Riley will take you to the finish or to where it all begins again. Either way, the ride is worth it. Like, does that just not sound like something totally whimsical and fun? Like, this is giving me magical realism. It is like a collection of essays and things, and I believe it's just like about existing. It's about queerness, it's about relationships, and I need that in my life. I tend to really like short story collections and essay collections that are focused on, just contemplating queerness and being a 20-something, so it sounds perfect for me. Wouldn't be surprised at all if it's 5 stars. The next prediction, though, is not so typical on brand Haley. This is a bold prediction. Okay, I'm just gonna come out and say this is a really bold prediction. I just kind of wanted to talk about the fact that I want to read this book, so I'm making it a 5-star prediction. If this totally crashes and burns, then I guess I'm fucking up my track record, but I have high hopes for her. Since I'm in my fantasy era, I'm gonna say that the first book in the Crescent City series, A House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, is going to be a 5-star read. Now look at this girl. Yeah. I don't know about that either. I'm really not a long book girly, but we will see. I love the ACOTAR series once I got into it, so I'm hoping to just dive more into Sarah J. Maas's series that she has going on, because obviously that works for me. Honestly, she was just the most widely accessible fantasy author to get into, so that's why I kind of landed on her. But I really want to read more diversely within the fantasy genre. If y'all have any other recommendations for me, and I don't just mean diverse authors, I just mean any series other than Sarah J. Maas, please help me, because this is the only place where I know to go. When I tell you I know nothing about the fantasy genre, I know nothing. Help me. But I'm gonna do a vlog of the Crescent City series. I believe the new one comes out end of January or something like that. So I'm gonna try to get into it and read it since I'm looking for more fantasy since I finished A Court of Silver Flames. And I'm just gonna read you the back because don't try to get me to summarize any kind of fantasy synopses. Like, I'm not gonna do it. Half fae, half human Bryce Quinlan loves her life. Every night is a party, and Bryce is going to savor all the pleasures Lunatheon, also known as Crescent City, has to offer. But a brutal murder shakes the very foundations of the city, and Bryce's world comes crashing down. 2 years later, she haunts the city's most notorious nightclubs, seeking only oblivion and trying to put the past behind her. But when the murderer attacks again, and an infamous fallen angel, Hunt Athalar, is assigned to watch her every footstep, Bryce knows she can't forget it any longer. Bryce and Hunt fight to unravel the mystery. The threads they tug ripple through the underbelly of the city, across warring continents, and down to the deepest levels of hell, where things that have been sleeping for millennia are beginning to stir. Like, doesn't that sound so good? I'm sorry, that kind of sounds like it's good. This is gonna be 5-star. I don't know. Next up, we have a YA thriller that was going off during Hailey-ween. This past October, during Happy Hailey-ween, my October yearly readathon, so many people gave this book 5 stars. I really wanted to get to it this year, but it just didn't fit in my TBR because now I'm all holiday reads all the time, but I do think this could have 5-star potential based on y'all's reviews, and that is You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Bayron. This is a YA thriller, and it's supposed to be just the most fun, no thoughts, head empty slasher that there is. It has such a vague synopsis. It takes place at a summer camp, and it literally just says at Camp Mirror Lake, terror is the name of the game, but can you survive the night? And I believe the camp is like set up to be a horror experience. Like, it's based on Camp Crystal Lake from Friday the 13th. And our main character is like playing one of the scare actors at the camp, which is so fun. But then real life murders start happening and she might be the real life final girl. Sounds so fun. I don't know how you can fuck this up. Like, I'm so excited for it. Next up, of course, y'all knew there were gonna be some thrillers on this list. We have How Can I Help You by Laura Sims. And when I read the synopsis for this thriller, something just told me this is gonna be a 5-star. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Just something told me in my bones I'm gonna give this 5 stars. So I'm gonna trust that. It's about this little lady who is middle-aged and very normal. She works at the public library and no one suspects that she is a former nurse with a trail of premature deaths in her wake. So she's one of those killer nurses, but she's turned a new page working at the library, trying to suppress all those old murderous urges. However, a recent graduate joins the library staff and notices her slightly sinister edge and starts watching her and gathering hints of her mysterious murderous past. As her new fixation becomes all-consuming, it sends both women hurtling towards disaster. I love a nosy little grad student and I love a murderous, unassuming old lady. Like, I think they're gonna be the best duo and just explode together, and I can't wait to see what happens. Next up, we have something maybe unexpected for me, I don't know, but I have Uzumaki by Junji Ito, and usually I'm not a manga girl. This is a long manga book, which if you told me this was gonna be on my 5-star predictions, I would say you're fucking crazy. But it's a horror manga and it's about spiral horror, which I'm very excited for. I can totally get into that. Also, a lot of my friends have given this 5 stars, and a lot of my friends who are tastes align often have given this 5 stars. So I think it's gonna be a 5-star for me as well. It says that it's about a town contaminated with spirals, and apparently it's haunted by a curse. Not a person, but a pattern. Uzumaki, the spiral, the hypnotic secret shape of the world. So I have all the volumes in here, and I guess I'm gonna read them all and rate them all as one thing, but I hope I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Next up, I have Pond by Claire Louise Bennett, and this is giving me all of my character-driven, plotless dreams. Y'all, this is just about a woman living and the aesthetic things that she does and the way that she romanticizes her life, and that is honestly how I'm trying to be and what I'm trying to do. So I think I'm gonna like it for that reason, but also y'all know that I love a plotless, just character-driven book. It says that there are painful and often hilarious musings on what we cannot help seeing mirrored in our own fraught longings, desires, and fears. It's described as unusually enchanting, which I really like that. Like, I think this is gonna be weird, feminist, and just like a celebration of weird women doing whatever the hell we want. How could it not be 5 stars? Next up, I have The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias, and I put this on my 5-star prediction list because it reminds me of one of my favorite authors who I've given almost every single one of his books 5 stars, and that is S.A. Cosby. The synopsis of this book just reads like an action movie, and it actually sounds very, very similar to one of my all-time favorite books and one of my favorite books of this year, which was Blacktop Wasteland. It says, buried in debt due to his young daughter's illness and his marriage at the brink, Mario reluctantly takes a job as a hitman, surprising himself with his proclivity for violence. After tragedy destroys the life he knew, he agrees to one final job: hijacking a cartel's cash shipment before it reaches Mexico. Along with an old friend and a cartel insider named Wonka, Mario sets off on a near-suicidal mission which will leave him with either a cool $200,000 or a bullet to the skull. But the path to reward or ruin is never as straight as it seems. As the 3 complicated men travel through the landscape of Texas, across the border and back, their hidden motivations are laid bare alongside nightmarish encounters that defy explanation. One thing is certain: if Mario makes it out alive, he'll return a different man. So this sounds like how far would you go for your family trope, at the edge of your seat, super thrilling and exciting. And I love stuff about like dangerous jobs that you only take because you're down to your last dime. Like, I just love that. I think this is gonna be right up my alley. Also, it takes place in Texas. I love that. I'm a Texas girl. And we got even more thrillers. Next up, I have The Lost Night by Andrea Bartz. I usually have a couple of my 5-star predictions for the year based on author alone, and Andrea Bartz I've given 2 5-star ratings to, so I'm hoping that this book is also going to be 5 stars. Oh yeah, this is her debut, so it'll be really exciting to see if her writing has been clicking with me since the very beginning. I think she could be like a favorite author for me. It's a very, very vague synopsis, literally about a girl looking back 10 years after her best friend's suicide and trying to put the pieces together to see if something more sinister actually took place, because she doesn't believe that she took herself out. She thinks that it was murder, and she also suspects that she might have been involved because she was drunk the night that it happened. And it just sounds like all the thriller tropes that I love, like the classic unreliable narrator, amnesia thing, going back to an event years and years later and trying to put the puzzle pieces together. And if it's written with the style that I know Andrea Bartz has, with a ton of scandal and drama and chaotic bisexual energy, I know I'm gonna love it. Let's take a quick detour from all the dark stuff into romance really quick. I have After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this is the only Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I have not read besides, oh gosh, the most recent one, what is it? The tennis one? I didn't read the tennis one, but as for her backlist, this is the only one that I have not read, and the other 2 romances in her backlist I gave 5 stars, so I'm hoping this one is going to be 5 stars as well, especially because it's following a married couple, and I am married, and I also do prefer romances now at this point in my life about established couples or like second chance romance, because that's just like kind of what I'm about. I'm in a long-term relationship, so that just like resonates with me a little bit deeper. It's about a married couple who have kind of like reached this impasse where things feel stale, and they decide to take a year break to see other people, kind of with the goal of feeling that longing for each other again and hopefully falling in love all over again. And their rule for this year is that they cannot have any contact, which I could never do this. That would literally drive me insane. If somebody told me I wasn't allowed to talk to Cam for an hour, I think I would start crying. So it says it's a love story about what happens when love fades, and it's about staying in love, seizing love, forsaking love, and committing to love with everything you have. I think I'm gonna literally sob reading this book. I'm so excited to read it and hopefully give it 5 stars. And all the rest of the books on this list are thriller and horror, so we're back to the good stuff. We have Bathhouse by PJ Vernon, and I don't know why I haven't picked this one up yet. I did try a chapter tag a while ago, I think like last October, and I read the first chapter of this and I cannot get it out of my mind. Like, I want to go back and read it because I love that first chapter so much. It was giving me like sucking me in, 5-star vibes. So I just need to go pick it up again, and hopefully it's 5 stars. And it's about this guy who betrays his husband at a bathhouse. His husband's like a surgeon and like this amazing dude, but he just like cheats on him at a bathhouse, and then he has this really horrifying encounter at the bathhouse that could literally blow up his entire life, but he feels like he can't tell his husband about it, obviously because of the betrayal. So then he gets caught up in this game of cat and mouse. It's a murder mystery, thrilling, blackmail-y kind of situation is what it seems like, just from what I can gather from the back combined with the first chapter. I literally want to pick this one up right now. It sounds so good, and it comes highly recommended. A lot of people that I trust have given this 5 stars as well. Next up, we have something a little bit more horror, and that is Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine. This is supposed to be a modern retelling of Rosemary's Baby, which, say no more, that's really all I need to hear. And it's supposed to have a feminist update. That is blurbed from Andrea Bartz, the author that I literally just talked about with The Last Night, so that gives me hope for a 5 star as well. And the current season of American Horror Story is actually based on this book, and I am loving this season and the commentary of it all. I cannot wait to read this. I want to do a like comparing the show and the book video. I don't know if that would be something that y'all would want to see. Maybe I could put it on Patreon. I don't know. Let me know if y'all would be interested in like a show book comparison, because I love making that kind of content. And then finally, my last 5-star prediction for 2024 is My Murder by Katie Williams. And I've heard so much about this book, but I feel like this came out at the very beginning of the year and I just kind of forgot about it, and it's been sitting on my shelves. But now that we're into like end of year wrap-up territory, a lot of my friends are featuring this on either their most surprising or favorite books of the year. So it gives me a lot of hope that this could be something that I would like. It also has a lot of tropes that I've rated 5 stars in the past. It's about a woman who is a victim of a serial killer, but she gets brought back to life with the mission to solve her own murder. Y'all know that I love books that mess around with time and thrillers that have a little magical realism element to it, so I think I'm gonna love that. I love a serial killer thriller, and everybody's saying that they read this in like one sitting. I love a book that goes at a breakneck pace, so I have high hopes for it. And now that the sun is going down, let me go ahead and wrap up this video. That is going to be it for my 5-star predictions for next year, 2024. Again, if you want to see how I did with my 2023 predictions, that video is up on Patreon, and my Patreon is always linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you got a kick out of it. Let me know, what are your 5-star predictions, if you have any, for next year. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!